This is my first ever Hollyland review. Now, I did have to buy it myself, but if you're from Hollyland and you're watching this thinking, gosh, I'd love to see Aiden review more of this stuff, email me back. But that aside, this is the Hollyland Lark M2S, an obvious response to the Rode Wireless Micro. So let's see how these two stack up against each other and see if one suits your needs more than the other. But first, let's break down this Hollyland unit to see what it has for you. And again, I do have to mention this was bought by me, so there are no issues there. If you want to check it out on your own, there are affiliate links in the description. It's a great way to support the channel if you're interested. Okay, let's just get this one out of the way first. The case is plastic. It ain't great plastic either. It does feel cheap, but I think that's just the case. You can hear how cheap it is. Comparatively, Rode's offering plastic as well feels better and way more premium. However, you can see the units inside are built much better. You get a USB connection for your phone, and it will also work with Lightning, but you believe you have to supply the cable. One real cool add-on to the USB receiver is the extra USB plug, meaning you can charge your phone while you're using it. That's a pretty cool idea, and if you're doing a long recording session, or perhaps if your phone's battery sucks, that's pretty sweet. One other thing you may notice is that these things have physical buttons. Now, this one on the USB receiver acts as a pairing button or for activating noise cancellation, something we can get into in a bit. The mics are absolutely tiny too. I do love their design. Now, these things are basically the clipped mic all in one. The actual loop acts as a clamp, which is pretty cool, though I'm a touch concerned at how long that clamping power is gonna last. I did notice something in the documentation that said to be careful with how much you bend them out, as it might kill the clamping power. So keep that in mind if you're looking at these. There's more buttons on the camera receiver. And by the way, you might need to write this stuff down. This is the power/pairing/mute/lock button. It basically depends on how long you press it to get the result you want. I can see that becoming very confusing if you're out on a shoot and can't quite remember what is what. I've had to go back to the manual several times just to kind of find my way around. Not to mention the scroll wheel on here is the volume control/mode, which is stereo mono/noise cancellation button. Again, maybe get rather acquainted with all the controls before you go out on a critical job. Also, I should point out, along with this, you get an accessories bag for the, well, accessories. Here you get a USB cable, annoyingly a USB-A to USB-C. Can we all get together and get rid of the USB-A once and for all? You also get some tiny dead cats, though it's kind of weird when I say it that way, and a cable for attaching the camera receiver to a camera. That cable, though, is super cheap feeling. And generally, when you end up with an issue with audio from your camera, it's generally the cable that is to blame. So I'm going to be a touch worried about this cable. This is the Lark M2S, and what it looks like, what it sounds like, and kind of the experience with it. We're also going to go back and forth with the Rode Micro. Okay, and now we have the Rode Wireless Micro on the shirt. Same settings, same rough spot as the Lark M2S was. And this is what it sounds like. This is the Rode Wireless Micro. So this is the Lark M2S. On my phone, obviously I'm using the phone attachment, the USB, and this is what it sounds like. No noise reduction. By the way, also making sure that we have the exact same settings on this. So why don't we walk down to the construction site? You can actually see it behind me back there. And let's see what this sounds like with all the construction going on and the noise reduction on. So it's a few blocks that way. This is what the Rode Wireless Micro sounds like without any noise reduction on. So this is the Hollyland Lark M2S, and this is without any noise cancellation on. I'm rather curious to see how it all comes out in the wash. This is the Hollyland Lark M2S without any noise cancellation on. This is the noise reduction of the Rode Wireless Micro being off. It's a roundabout way of saying all that. Okay, so the last time I was here at this construction site, it was a lot louder. And this is what the Lark M2S sounds like with just the low level of noise reduction on. So this is the Rode Wireless Micro on low settings. Let's jack it up to high and see how good that noise reduction really is. So this is the Rode Wireless Micro with the high setting. You can see all the traffic moving behind me. This is what it sounds like. Again, it would be super helpful if they were doing any construction back here, right? So this is with the high noise reduction on. We do have some traffic behind us, and this is what it sounds like with the Lark M2S from Hollyland. This is the Rode Wireless Micro with the high setting on. We got a bus going by right here. See? That's what it sounds like with the bus going by. Okay, so let's do a hat test. I almost forgot as I'm walking back. Okay, so now we have the Lark M2S on the side of the hat. Now I pointed it away from traffic for a very good reason. It's so we can try to get the natural voice without picking up straight traffic. This is the sound of the Rode Wireless Micro on the side of my hat. And the reason I'm doing this is I've seen a lot of actual creators using this on the side of a hat or on the front of the hat. But this is what it sounds like on the side of my hat. Now it's in the exact same spot that I had the Rode Wireless Micro. This is the Rode Wireless Micro on the beak of the hat. Let's move over to the Lark M2S. Now we see the Hollyland Lark M2S on the beak of my hat. What do you think of the sound quality as we go back and forth with the Wireless Micro? Okay, so let's talk about the actual comparisons of the physical units. I really do like what Hollyland did with the small mics, and for what they are, they do sound good. But the package as a whole, it's just bigger. I guess if you're looking for super discreet mics, cool. But if you're looking for more of a smaller footprint, it's an interesting perspective I have here. When I was in Vegas for NAB, someone approached me in a casino while I was walking through, and they pulled this out of their pocket and said, I was the reason he bought it. That was a really cool moment for me, but it also highlights a pretty decent point. That's probably not going to happen with this. And the physical size of the package does come into play for some people.
SOS locate DJL.
Plus, back to these mics. They are literally only good for clamping. There's no way of attaching them without the clamp. So if you want that magnet, Rode is a way to go. Now, when you look at the mics with the furry things on, something interesting happens. They become way less discreet, while the Rode unit just looks like little minions. Come on, that's cute. Okay, so this is a comparison of two extremely different approaches to a companion app. The Hollyland one has everything, but basically it's all laid out in the app, and it's a rather busy approach. Now, the Rode one, on the other hand, is very minimalistic and extremely easy to jump into and understand. Now, honestly, this is a very personal choice kind of thing, and I'm not going to call it either way just based on the app. But I will say this. The Hollyland app is way slower, specifically the load in. Even if you have the receiver attached before opening the app, it still takes a hot second for it to come up. And maddeningly, every single time you go back into the app, it still takes time to recognize that a receiver is attached. Why? And if you need to jump into the settings multiple times while you're doing a project, you're going to find yourself rather annoyed very quickly. Not to mention, just every once in a while, the unit has to be repaired with the phone, even if you haven't unplugged the receiver. Oh my God, that was annoying. The Rode one still has a touch of lag, but it's much snappier. And if you put on the receiver before opening the app, it's just instantly recognized. And more importantly, as long as you don't unplug the receiver for Rode, it will recognize a receiver instantly when you're reopening the app. These are the little touches that don't seem like much, but in practice, it's just one less thing to annoy you while you're trying to get the bloody job done. So is one better? I mean, yeah, I believe there is one that's better here in my opinion, but perhaps not for the reasons you might all think. Honestly, the sound is going to come down to you and your choices and your use cases. For example, I preferred the sound of the Rode Wireless Micro all around, but if I was planning on shooting with the device hanging off the bill of my hat, the Lark M2S was clearly the better option there. But if you move away from the sound and start to look at things that aren't up for personal interpretation, man, that gap widens significantly. Build quality, it's Rode by a mile. And honestly, that is one of the biggest things for me. From aesthetics to just the everyday use of the design, the Rode, in my mind, just comes in front. Now, that is until you add the camera receiver. Now, this is a bit annoying, though if you do utilize one of these, it probably isn't leaving the top of your camera often, so maybe it doesn't matter to you. But being able to charge it with everything else is a nice bonus that Hollyland does have. And from the usability perspective, I really like that Rode has magnets for attaching this when you can't clip it. I would love to see something like that with the Hollyland, but the design of it requires for it to be clipped. Now, that may or may not be an issue for you, but remember, you can't always control what your interview subject is wearing. You have to keep that in mind. Now, I do have to give props to Hollyland for their design though. It is really cool, it's really unique, and something that I think a lot of people are gonna jump on it because of that design. They advertise the logo-free experience, which I don't get the need for, but some people do. So if that's for you, this thing does that. But I do love that this is something you can clip on your hat with very little footprint, and it'll do quite well in multiple scenarios. It's a very cool device in that respect. And finally, the app. Now, appearance and usability aside, it was just a bit of a hot mess when trying to jump in and out of the app. And for me, while I was trying to shoot the walking video for this, these issues made up my mind for the Rode. I really don't have time to screw around waiting constantly for the app to recognize the bloody device. So for me, my vote has to go for the Rode system. But if cost is your issue, well, Hollyland wins that hands down. And for the price, you do get a hell of a lot, which is pretty cool. So I want to know, down below, which of these is going to be your go-to, the Hollyland or the Rode Wireless Micro? Cheers, guys, and thanks for watching.